The Earth is at a very critical point. Our climate has increasingly gotten worse over time. And based on the report released by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, if something is not done about the emissions of greenhouse gases, this Earth's climate is bound to be chaotic and disastrous in the future. Our dependence on fossil fuels has taken an extreme toll on the Earth, as at 2020, we released 40 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide into the Earth's atmosphere. If we still want to have a safe and harmless Earth to look forward to in the future, this number has to be cut to net zero by 2050. Enter carbon capture technology. A lot of countries have begun to take carbon capturing more seriously as a way of reducing carbon emissions. If you don't know what carbon capturing is, stay with us as we will be breaking it all down for you. Welcome to Posh Future. In this video, we're going to be discussing carbon capture technology. Will this be man's last chance to save the Earth? Let's talk about it. Please hit the subscribe button and keep watching to find out all you need to know about carbon capture technology. For decades, scientists have warned that the world will be facing the repercussions of the climate crisis if something is not done. Well, it seems that we're beginning to face these repercussions. Temperatures have risen by over 4 degrees Celsius worldwide. Wildfires continue to rage across continents during the summer. A lot of mountain glaciers has melted, and the Greenland and Western Atlantic ice sheets are beginning to melt. The increased heat in the last decade in the ocean has caused it to expand. This, with a combination of the water that has melted from the ice sheets, have caused sea levels to rise above 1 meter. This has led to intense flooding issues in major cities around the world. These are just a few of the effects of climate change in our present world. The most significant cause of these changes in the climate is due to the release of greenhouse gases from human activities in the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases are predominantly made up of carbon dioxide. However, they also contain smaller amounts of methane and nitrous oxide. These greenhouse gases are emitted during the combustion of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas. As these greenhouse gases from human activities have continued to increase over the years, the gases continue to build up in the atmosphere, causing the climate to get warmer and warmer, which has caused a shift that has led to all the effects we mentioned earlier. Friends, this is not good. It is for this reason that over 189 countries negotiated the Paris Agreement in 2015 to commit to prevent global temperatures from rising by 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. However, despite the agreements, carbon emissions still increased by 1.7% in 2017 and a further 2.7% in 2018. At this point, countries like the United States, which is the top emitter of greenhouse gases, and interestingly, oil companies that also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, are seriously looking into carbon capture technology as a means of reducing carbon emissions. So, what exactly is carbon capturing, and how does it work? Well, carbon capture, commonly referred to as carbon capture and storage, CCS, is a combination of technologies with the aim of preventing the release of carbon dioxide that is generated through traditional power generation and industrial processes, and storing it so that it is not emitted into the atmosphere. Basically, what CCS does is to separate the carbon dioxide emissions from the process, and then the compressed carbon dioxide is then transported, usually through pipelines or shipping, to a suitable storage location and injected. Suitable locations for storage are typically places like abandoned oil and gas fields, deep saline formations, or coal beds. Now, there are different ways of doing CCS, but before we go into that, it is important to note that CCS is not a new technology. It has actually been in existence for some time. Carbon technology has been in existence since the 1920s, when it was used to separate carbon that was sometimes found in natural gas reservoirs from soluble methane gas. This was usually used to boost oil recovery. For example, in the early 1970s, carbon dioxide was captured from a gas processing facility in Texas and then transported through pipeline to an oil field nearby, where it was injected into the field in aid to increase chances of recovering oil. This process is called enhanced oil recovery, EOR, and has been proved to be very successful. However, it wasn't until the 1980s that this process was studied for climate purposes. And now, with how bad things have gotten with the climate, many are looking into using this process more widely to reduce carbon emissions. So, there are different technologies of doing carbon capturing, and this is dependent on the industrial process and the type of power plant that is doing it. The first is post-combustion. In this process, carbon dioxide is extracted from the flue gas that results from the combustion of fossil fuels. This process makes use of solvents in order to capture the carbon dioxide. This is a popular one in research. The second technology is pre-combustion. This method involves removing the carbon dioxide from fossil fuel before combustion is completed. What happens is that the fossil fuel is partially oxidized in steam and oxygen or air under high temperature. And what results from this is syngas, which is a combination of carbon dioxide, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and smaller amounts of other gaseous components like methane. Then, the syngas will go through a water shift reaction, and then the carbon dioxide will be captured, separated, transported, and then stored, while the hydrogen can be used to generate power and or heat. The last technology is oxy-fuel combustion. Now, with this process, the fossil fuel is combusted in nearly pure oxygen instead of air. This produces a flue gas, which contains mainly water vapor and about 80% of concentrated carbon dioxide. Afterwards, the flue gas is cooled to condense the water vapor and leaves a stream of carbon dioxide emissions, which makes it easier to capture. When either of these technologies is done to separate the carbon dioxide, it can then be transported and stored. Now you might say, great, if all these exist, why haven't we been doing it to combat the climate crisis? Well, there are a few challenges with deploying CCS. To begin with, there is an issue of cost. The equipment and energy needed to carry out the capturing and the compressing is very expensive. There is only one commercial power plant that makes use of carbon capture, and this is the Boundary Dam Power Station in Saskatchewan, Canada. And the total cost of their CCS project is a whopping $1.5 billion. That is a lot of money, and so for many plants to get involved, they might have to find a way to make this cheaper. There is also the challenge of transportation. Not only are the pipelines costly, but in order to transport the carbon dioxide safely, the pipelines will have to be specially designed. Existing oil and gas pipelines cannot be used because impurities in the carbon stream can damage the pipelines and cause dangerous leaks and even explosions, which we definitely do not want. Then, this pipeline will have to be connected to a suitable location for storage. And not only is this expensive, but it will be hard to implement in areas that do not have the appropriate locations. So while it is very important to figure out a method to help achieve the goal of net zero in 2050, more research has to be done, and quickly. The US Department of Energy in August 2021 announced that $24 million will be used in funding 9 projects to explore and develop methods for carbon capturing from the air. With more focus and research going into CCS, maybe it won't be too late to save the Earth. Maybe. That's all we have for you today. What do you think about carbon capture technology? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Did you enjoy the video? If you did, please give the big thumbs up and turn on your post notification bell so you will know when we come out with new videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you would like to see more of our content. Till next time, bye!